vide come balla, tu vide come balla, tu vide come balla sul sul. Ma parno maccarona, ma parno maccarona, ma parno maccarona senza cavana.
And boom, we are live. What's up, everybody? Couple Casuals Podcast, episode number 26. I'm your host, Stefano. And today, I got a very special guest for you guys. Very special episode for you guys. He single-handedly is keeping the Italian culture alive with his passion for Italian music and his delivery for Italian music. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother, Claudio Santaluce.
How's it going?
Big salute, brother, as we do here on Couple Casuals Podcast. Thanks for coming on. Before I get started, I got to give a quick shout out to the setup we got here on the table. Start off with the beautiful paws that we have on the table. Shout out to CandleHand. Visit them at CandleHand.com. Use promo code CC10 for 10% off and free shipping. Next up, the beautiful pints that we have on the table here. Visit them at CameronsBrewing.com. Check out Matt on Instagram. He'll give you everything you need to know about that. Keep an eye for them at the LCBO. And when you're at the bar with your pals, keep an eye for Cameron's Brewing. And lastly here, the beautiful grinds we have on the table. Benji's Coffee Company. Visit them at benjiscoffee.ca. Use promo code CASUAL10 for 10% off. And also worth mentioning that 10% off of the entire store goes to kids pursuing their passion. So we're doing a lot of good things here at Couple Casuals Podcast. Without further ado, got to get through the whole thing. I put everything in the bio, you know what I mean? Claudio, man, it's good to see you, brother. How are you?
Everything's good, man.
Good man, good man. Yes, it's been a while, man. We've been wanting to get you on. We've been wanting to have you on, and finally it's here. So I appreciate you taking the time, brother.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yes, sir, man. And we're just talking before pod of an amazing event that took place a couple summers ago. I don't know, it might be arguably, hopefully, one of your most special events.
Honestly, I really remember that day because I think this was after COVID was really, really bad.
Yeah.
It was one of the first events I did.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. And I remember I came to play at your house.
Yep.
And it was for your dad's birthday, right?
65th birthday, yes, sir.
65th birthday. And I start playing. I was supposed to do 2 sets of 30 minutes. So I play the first 30 minutes and you guys just go crazy.
Buddy, it's the music, man. It's that Italian culture
and you
music.
guys were dancing. But then the kicker is,
Yes.
for my second set, I start playing. All of a sudden, it starts raining.
That was...
And you guys came under... You set up like a tent.
Yes, we had the little... But I was prepared because I always check the news, eh?
And then you guys came. We were all around each other playing and dancing. It was such a good vibe.
Such a good time. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter about the weather or anything like that. With that kind of music and that kind of passion, brother,
Absolutely. But you know
just
what?
keep going.
The way it is in my business is, okay, I can do what I do.
Yeah.
But it's a 50-50.
Like, you're right.
It depends on my crowd. Like, how are they reacting to my music? You know, sometimes I need to think on my feet and change what I'm doing to accommodate them better.
Yes.
But if they're a good crowd,
yeah,
I don't have to try.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
And then it makes your experience probably more enjoyable, and then you're able to kind of like, feel it's a vibe at the end of the day. The music is like a vibe, and that was a special day. It was raining. I'll throw up some images of us with the umbrellas, doing the tarantella with the umbrellas, you know what I mean? A couple of those videos made it to Italian comedy, so shout out to Italian comedy. But it was a special day. But there was one very, very special moment in that night. I don't know if you remember, but there was a moment where you came inside and you played for my nonna.
Oh, yes, I do.
Do you remember that?
I do remember.
Since then, she's passed.
I know she's passed because your mom actually messaged me.
Did she messaged you? Yeah. But I just want to say big salute for that moment. Thank you, brother, because that was such a special moment, because 90 plus years of age, legendary woman, and we had her inside and you played. Do you remember the song? La Fetch, I'll play it
Is
here.
it Quel Mazzolin di Fiori?
No, it was I forget how to say it. My dad is, if he's watching.
Where are you guys from in Italy?
My dad is from like Gaeta. It's near Napoli, and my mom is Shusujada, but she's from Sora. I can show you here. I'm gonna pull it up right now. I can't see.
Amor dammi quel fazzolettino.
There it is. That's the one. You got it. You remembered. That's
You know why I remember? Because when I think about the regions,
Yes.
so each place in Italy.
Yeah.
So when I play an event, I always ask, where are you from in Italy?
Yeah,
Because
you do that. I remember you doing
each
that.
region has their specific songs.
Yeah.
And I remember she knew that song from when she was a kid because this is what they sang when, I don't know if she was like in like a farmer, like
Yeah.
where they were with animals, whatever. They used
Yes.
to sing together while they were working.
Yes, and that's what I remember my dad saying that to you. We went inside and you played that song for it. Actually brought her to tears. I'm gonna
Yes.
throw up the video here now, so check this out. But what a special moment that was. And I think that's where kind of where I want to start with you is like moments like those, like you just touched on, like, you know, when you play these songs and then everybody's so involved, it's like a 50-50 exchange. What do moments like that mean to you when, you know, you bring people to tears or you just see everybody having an amazing time and your music is providing that just overall amazing vibe and good night? What does that mean to you, brother? Is that what it's about?
100%.
That's what it's about.
You know what I do when something like that happens? So I first thing I do is I get in the car and I call my wife and I tell her.
Come on.
Yeah, because for me, you know, I love what I do. I'm so passionate about what I do.
Yes, I can tell.
And when I see a reaction like that from people, like I feel so good. Sometimes when people cry, I will feel like crying too, right?
Of course.
But yeah, to be honest, it started with the way I started was with my father.
Right.
So he was my manager.
Okay.
He was the guy that pushed me to play. He kept me into it. He kept me engaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to share these moments with him. And you know, we would get in the car, and he used to tell me, he's like, "Look what you're making. Look what you're doing to these people."
Yes.
He's like, "Look at the nostalgia you're giving to them. Look at the joy you're bringing them." He's like, "You have a great gift, and you know, you're bringing so much joy to people. You never stop."
Really. And that's, brother, to be honest with you, that's what I think it's about. Because my family, for example, music runs through our blood, man. It really does. So when we have moments like those, it's so appreciative, and we're so appreciative of moments like those and those times like that. So I'm sure, you know, you, like I said at the beginning, you're keeping that Italian culture alive, which I want to get into further. But maybe that's where we can also start is like, how did you get into this? When did it begin?
So we have a house in Italy still.
Okay.
And my dad was still really attached to his town and Italy.
Whereabouts was that?
He's from it's a town called Cogliano. It's in Salerno. It's provincia di Salerno. It's just south of Salerno though.
Okay.
But it's in the mountains, and we would spend summers there, like, you know, long periods of time. Sometimes I go 2 years in a row, 2 times in a year.
And at a very young age.
At a very young age.
Like how young? Under 10?
I think I don't know if it was like 5 or 7 my first time to Italy, and then every year, like,
Yeah.
that's it. My mom was a teacher. My dad has his own business, so we would spend time there. We could do it.
Okay.
And my uncle Zitor, he played the organetto.
Organetto. Let me ask you something about that. Is that the smaller one?
Yeah, so it's a smaller one. It's more used for traditional type of music. So the accordion is like a more elaborate version of the organetto. The organetto was a very traditional instrument, focusing on tarantellas and waltzes and polkas and folklore, right?
The very traditional sound.
Yeah. So my uncle Zitor, he played. And when I saw him play, I told my dad, I said, I want to be like him. Because you know what he was doing? He was every night back then, this is in the 90s, we didn't have iPods.
Yeah.
We didn't have TV. Like, we had TVs, but like they weren't like, you know, so, you know, like entertainment for them was getting together and like playing songs, singing. It was beautiful.
Sharing moments.
And I'm like, everyone was looking to him. Everyone admired him. And I'm like, I want to be that guy that brings that joy, right? And so my dad bought me an organetto. We came to Toronto and we found someone that did lessons.
Okay.
And I started taking lessons when I was 7. And then I loved playing for people. I didn't like practicing, so I didn't really practice.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And when I was 8, I told my dad, I want to play for people. I want to play, like, you know, like
In
gigs.
front of a crowd, yeah.
And he's like, I don't think you're ready for that yet. And I'm like, let's try. And after school one day on a Friday, I went to this restaurant called Rocco's Plum Tomato in Etobicoke. And my dad brought me and he's like, do you need an accordion player? He's like, not really. He's like, well, this is my son. Why don't you take a listen and see if he's good? So I took my organetto and I asked him, I'm like, hey, where are you from in Italy? He's like, I'm Calabrese. I'm like, perfect. I'm like, I'm going to play you La Calabrisella. And he loved it. So he said, you can start tonight, Friday night.
Wow.
Come tomorrow, come Sunday. And he had 2 locations. So I would do the Queensway location from...
At 8 years old.
Yeah. 7 to 9, and then something like that, 7 to 9, and then the other location, Islington 7 to 9, Queensway 9 to like 11 or whatever.
And your dad was just driving you around back and forth.
He was driving around. He would wait in the corner and have a glass of wine and watch me, right?
That's good memories right there.
Yeah. And then I did that every weekend. Like, honestly, that's the way I practiced. I played for people and I...
So you obviously weren't nervous or anything. You just wanted to play in front of people.
Yeah.
Because I think it's because it started from when you saw your Zio, right? And then you wanted to emulate that.
Yeah. And I think naturally at a young age, I was really personable. Yeah. And I was outgoing. And I think the more I played in front of people, the more I learned how to talk to them and engage, and, keep them engaged and stuff. And, it's a skill that it's a skill, and it's like a mindset of, like I was there, and, as a kid, a lot of times I didn't enjoy it because...
You didn't?
I did not.
Why is that?
Because I would rather do other things, like, like hang out with my friends or, like instead of going lessons on a Saturday morning, I'd rather do...
How often were you doing lessons?
I was doing lessons every Thursday, and I was doing other lessons on Saturdays, but we never missed a lesson. Like Thursday night, it didn't care if it snowed or freezing rain or whatever. Thursday night, I had lessons.
And was your dad a big influence in regards to like showing that you have to be dedicated to this?
Yeah, he was, and he had a really good skill of like keeping me engaged. That was the biggest thing.
Okay, because especially at a young age, it's tough.
Yeah. There's a few times I was thinking of quitting, and he would find ways of making me avoid that because he knew it was a good gift. So, the first time I wanted to quit, I was 10. He's like, let's go make a CD. Let's go in the studio. We'll hire a band and we'll do a CD. And I'm like, that sounds so amazing, cool. Yeah. That sounds amazing. Let's do it. So we prepared for a CD for like a year. And then we got a band together. We were rehearsing. And then I did my first album when I was 10. And he always found a way to put a carrot in front of me and keep me engaged. That was the main thing. Yeah. Because, as a kid, the organetto has a stigma back then, especially that, it wasn't cool.
Of course. Yeah.
So
it's not a guitar. Like people at a young age, that's why it's a very unique instrument, but so traditional and so beautiful.
Yeah. But honestly, I always loved it and I love the music. It just, I went through phases as a kid where I was thinking of quitting, and luckily I didn't because I'm really happy. Yeah,
no, 100%. And you see it, and it comes with I guess that's where the passion starts. The foundation starts from these things, from, the people you aspire to be. And I think that moments where you kind of saw your Zio and you're like, I want to do that too. Mm-hmm. Those are big moments in time, right? But so then did you know right away that you could start singing? Because then obviously the playing is one aspect of it, but then you have a very good voice too. So when did you start singing the songs too? And did you speak Italian?
So I grew up, like, we only spoke Italian.
I know, I wish I did too.
So to my brother, like we have videos of my family. Yeah. And me and my brothers are talking to each other in Italian. It was really...
Since you were young.
I think all three of us, our first language was Italian. Because my parents were really... Like, my dad moved here when he was 20. He had a huge accent, and, they spoke... My parents spoke to each other in Italian. Mm-hmm. So we spoke to each other in Italian. And that was just normal. Mm-hmm. But that's the unique... That's the recipe that helped everything come together, because my Italian is really good.
Yeah, it is.
And even my when I have to do a dialect, I learned the
like, what kind of dialects would you do? You do the Tanitella Napolitana?
Like Napoli is a type of dialect, but like even Barese, when you do like a song from Puglia, like there has a different vibe to it. So like
so that in itself is a skill set too. That's very difficult.
How does the song go? I'm trying to think of L'Umaritiele. It's like a
Barese song?
Yeah, Pugliese song by Tony Sant'Agata. Mm-hmm. Like mare. Mm-hmm. In their accent they say umer.
Umer.
Yeah, like it's that vibe, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the way I try to emulate the way these guys sang these songs.
Yeah.
and it's easier for me. Like especially a lot of Neapolitan songs because we're from Salerno. It's really close to Napoli.
Yep.
So our dialect is naturally Napolitan.
It's not too far off.
And Neapolitan songs, I think Neapolitan songs are the most beautiful. They're most abundant in good songs as well.
Yeah.
Like I can name out of any region, I can name the most Napolitana songs because it's like it's the own genre, right? So luckily I knew Napolitano. Even when you sing Aum Aum, that's a Neapolitan song.
Right.
O Sarracino, Tu Val Americano.
O Sarracino.
Yeah, Che La La, Guaglione,
Yeah.
you know, Peppino sul Gelo.
Yeah.
All those songs are Neapolitan.
So that's all on Sempre, right? A lot of those songs you named are on your album Sempre. Right?
Yeah, so I try to include, you know, a lot of regions, but a lot of these traditional Neapolitan songs are on the albums.
So then when did you find out? Like when did you start singing? So you spoke the language, and then when did it kind of like let me start? Because talking's one thing, singing's another challenge.
I didn't want to sing.
You didn't?
No, I didn't feel. I didn't
Thank
feel
God you did.
I didn't feel comfortable singing, but you know, what my dad said. He said, "Okay, you're playing the songs, and it's great." He's like, "But you know what? It's like people want to hear the stories. They want to hear the words." He's like, "If you can sing and tell these stories the way they're supposed to be, it's much more effective. They like the melodies, but when you tell the way the song is supposed to be, everything." It'll be much more effective. So then I started singing one song and started singing two songs.
Did you just find your voice? You kind of just found it?
Yeah, I didn't really take any vocal lessons, like, you know. And I think the thing is, though, I don't find myself a strong vocalist because in folklore, you don't need to be really, really strong in order to do it. Right?
Okay.
Like if you're singing a lot of other genres, even pop or any other genre, you need a really technical voice to hit, you know, low and high pitches and even like your technique. But for folk music, it's easier to cheat and get away.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So luckily I can sing in tune. I think that's all it is.
That you feel like that's all.
Yeah.
So then was it right away you started singing, or first you were just playing the accordion, playing the organetto, and then you started putting the vocals to
I
it?
only started singing when I was 14 years old.
So yeah, you started when you were 14, you started singing.
Yeah.
And then you kind of put the package together.
Yeah.
So it seems like, your dad was a big influence in guiding that, right? So no other musicians in your family other than your Zio?
Nobody else. I have my other uncle in Toronto. He was a drummer.
Yeah.
But other than that, that's it.
So I want to ask you, I asked Gianluca, the guitar player, when he was on here, I want to ask you, what do you, in regards to music, how much do you think of it as like given talent, but then also something that you have to really develop? Like, what do you think between the combination between the two?
I think it's definitely a combination.
Mm-hmm.
But people, like, if people really work, I've seen people that aren't as musically inclined naturally work at it really hard.
Okay.
And be able to achieve amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I feel like even musicality, like having a good, like, it's like almost like in a trade. If you are naturally handy,
right,
you're able to get things quicker.
Okay.
And you're able to be like, you know, like I'm just speaking in terms of like, I went to Humber for drums.
Okay. So you play drums as well? How many instruments do you play?
I play a lot.
Yeah.
I play a lot of instruments, like the bass. I specialized in the drums at Humber. I did a 5-year program there.
Okay.
I've toured with the drums. I've toured like Singapore, Japan.
Really?
Like all over with the drums. I was doing a lot of drums.
And was that Italian music you're playing, or just general music?
No, it was like I was in Singapore and Japan. I was touring with an artist from Los Angeles. She's like kind of like an Amy Winehouse soul kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, but in going to Humber and doing all these gigs, I learned a lot about being a musician, playing with others and stuff.
So you find that experience was useful? Because sometimes people are like, school is school, but do you think that experience was useful for you?
100%. Good. Yeah, it didn't teach you anything about the business aspect of it or anything like that, but thank you. But it taught me a lot about, like, you know, even harmony and chords. And
so would you say like foundations,
Yeah.
like good foundations? That's good.
Because a lot of times with my songs, so what I do is I take like traditional songs and I add my own kind of twist on them.
Yeah, like a little flavor, Claudio flavor.
So if, like, for example, there's a lot of elements I took from like even jazz. So chord substitutions, for example, instead of just doing, let's say there's a 1 chord and a 4 chord. So it's a really simple basic chord. And if the chord progression is really simple, what I've done is like I've added a little bit of chord substitutions that they use in jazz music and stuff like that to achieve the same kind of sound, but make it more like what's the word? Like
Unique.
Yeah, unique, but also more flavors, like
Okay.
different flavors. It's not so
Dynamic.
Yeah, it's not so simple black and white. It's like, you're taking people other places
Yes.
with these chords, right?
Yes.
So I've incorporated that with my arrangements, and that's the way, I think that's why my sound is a little bit different.
Yeah. So so essentially you plug a lot from different influences, different sounds,
Yeah, for sure.
and you're bringing that all to the what would be Italian traditional music, right? So you're bringing that all and making it into one package.
Yeah.
So then once you learned, and then you started to grow up, when did you realize, like, you know what, I gotta keep going with this. I want to find a way to bring this an income, make this a job, make this something that I can sustain me in a way, and provide people with beautiful music, but then also monetize in a way too. When can I want to start making this a real deal?
Well, that being said, like my first weekend, like playing
Mm-hmm.
when I was at the restaurant, I made like $400 tip.
Nice. Oh, guys would just come give you tips,
Yeah,
eh?
they give me tips. Back then it was just all tips, so it wasn't really like no one was really paying me to play at the restaurant. I was just getting tips.
But $400 at was it 14 or 10 years of age?
I was 8 years old.
8 years old.
In a weekend, I'd
That's
make, it was great. But, that's just like, that's the first weekend I did it.
Yeah.
And, weekends change. It depends on the crowd as well. But
But I'm sure that planted the seed.
I never thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was kind of my manager, and he's the guy that kind of dealt with all the business, because I was just focusing on the music, and that's it. But then at a certain age, my dad actually, he got sick, and he passed away.
Sorry.
So when he initially got sick, I started taking my own bookings. Like, he was always taking my bookings.
Right.
He was my manager. That's it. And he used to come to every gig. He got sick, and
How old were you then?
this was 8 years ago, 8 or 9 years ago, and like that was our thing. The
Right.
organetto,
Of course.
was our thing.
Of course.
And when we go play weddings and everything, it was a lot of fun. Like,
So was it weddings initially? Or was it was it restaurants, weddings, events?
it was like, so it started with restaurants, and then I did like festivals at the same time. And then I started doing private events like baptisms and stuff like that.
Okay.
And then I started doing some weddings. And then it was towards, when I was like 14, it started being mostly weddings. Like, weddings was the thing, right? So
Which I want to get into further about weddings. But so then when that kind of fork in the road happened, when he passed and then you kind of took over, how was that transition like for you?
it was hard, because I'm back then I was like, I didn't have a business mind. He had his own company. He knew how to, he did it for a long time. So he knew how to run a business.
Right.
It was difficult for me.
Of course.
And, luckily my wife, Sarah, we were engaged then, and he couldn't come to my gigs anymore. And she stepped up and she's like, I'll start going with Claudio. And I think he loved that.
Nice.
He was so proud that he knew that I had someone on my side that really believed in what I did, and she supported me.
Yes.
And he was so happy. He loved her.
Yes.
And I had to learn while doing it how to run a business, right? And I curated what I do now into like a bunch of services for weddings and for events and stuff like that. And while doing it, I learned what works.
Yes.
So after doing it for so many years, like I learned what I think works best, and that's what the service that I offer. Right?
Yeah, it seems like you're good at working on your feet, because even like when you started, you said you just wanted to play in front of people, which most people might, I got to wait a bit. Let me get better. You kind of wanted to jump in there too. So it's similar to like when you had to develop that entrepreneurial mind, you're like, I got to just get in there and figure it out.
Yeah.
So that's good, man. That's good. That's amazing. That's beautiful, because, it comes from a serious passion place, and that's what you feel when you listen to the music, right?
I think the biggest thing, and I think the most important thing, is like, because I love it and I enjoy it, I think the number one thing I would, in anyone doing business, when I go to an event, I'm there,
right?
And I'm 100% there, 150% there,
physically, mentally,
because I want to be there. Number one. Number two, I want to do my best, because I want it to be the best show possible, because I'm a performer. I want it to be good. I want everyone to have an amazing time. And I want everyone to leave saying, man, that was amazing. That was great. So I'm not trying. Like, I'm not, you get what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
It's a really natural.
It's an innate passion that is because that's what music is at the end of the day, guys. It's an expression of your internal self. You're expressing yourself and you're letting that passion kind of deliver it. And I swear to you, we feel it. You know, as the person listening to it, as the person there, you do feel it. And it's beautiful because it's embedded in this Italian culture that we have that we should be so fucking proud of.
Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing about it. And I want to ask you, in saying that, do you think there is a growing market for this type of thing, like the Italian, the Italian music, the performing of these Italian cultural songs? Like, what do you think about that? Is it niche? What is it?
It's
like?
definitely niche, but in any business, niche, like having a niche business is I think
that's good. Yeah,
it's more profitable because you know you're like, for me, for example, I'm like one of the only guys that does this, and I feel like I do it at a good level,
yes,
like a really good level,
yes,
and I take pride in it. So I think it's different, but we were talking with my parents when my dad was around still, like 10, 15 years ago, and him saying, you know, keep doing it now. Because in 5 years, I don't know if people are still going to look forward to playing Italian music and listening to Italian music and dancing to it. And man, it's been 20 years since, and people are still, you know, I had
timeless.
I had my busiest year last year.
Did you? Salute.
So like, you know, people are still looking forward to this music. And before, it was like parents of the bride, parents of the groom hiring me for their daughter's wedding. Now, it's the bride and groom calling me saying, we want something, and we love that you're a young guy doing it, and your flow, like your flavor on this type of music. So if we're gonna include it part of the night, we want you to be the guy to do it.
Yes.
So it's really shifted, you know, the whole thing.
Yeah, and now they got like me and my friends, all my buddies, if they're listening right now, they're like, yo, we gotta tell Claudio Santaluce to come. We gotta tell Claudio because we love that traditional music, man.
Yeah,
we really do. And you mentioned the weddings too, and I got a little bone to pick with the weddings because. My concern, Claudio, is like with our Italian culture. I feel like we're maybe losing it just a little bit because my generation, the next generations, we're not holding on to it as much as we can. So it's refreshing to see that, you know, you can come in with this sort of addition because the house DJ doesn't do it for me as much, to be honest. To have that Italian flavor throughout the night. You know, a lot of the times they don't get the DJs, they're playing like Martin Garrix or something. The nunnies are just looking like they don't know what's going on. But when you have youth come there for that, how long do you play for? Like when you go?
So for like during dinner, I play 20 minutes.
Beautiful.
And then another 20 minutes. So 40 minutes total.
Exactly. So for that time, you know, you're able to accommodate that crowd and really fuel that culture that I fear that we might lose. Because a lot of our generation, my generation especially, we don't speak the language and stuff like that. I'm really concerned because I don't want to lose it. It's such a beautiful culture. It's such a beautiful tradition.
It is, but honestly, it's a natural thing. Because like even my dad, when his passion for his country, because he was born there, and his childhood, because imagine, you know, you move from somewhere when you spent 20 years, the first 20 years of your life you spent there. Think about how you feel like you left somewhere else to, you know, for work.
Yes.
But like you love your home. That's your home. That's his home for him, right?
Yeah.
That's his, so that's the thing. And then I still have a big attachment to that because I was riding along, you know, my parents' side.
Yep.
But my kids, you know, they're not speaking Italian. They don't have that, you know, that nostalgic feeling, that anything like that. They don't have that. So I'm not sure what it's going to be like in the future.
Do you know where I feel the nostalgic feeling? And some of these songs, like a lot of the songs on Semper, which I want to get into next, my dad was playing that throughout the house. My nonno, some of his favorite songs, like La Prima Amore. Am I saying it right?
Lo Prima Amore.
That's some of his favorite songs, right? And I just remember in my subconscious that music playing. So sometimes it's even like a little bit, for anybody listening, you have kids, throw some Italian tunes on. Because just plant the seed in them. Because when you're even a kid, you know, maybe I don't know, but it's there somewhere. And then when I hear you play it, when I hear these songs, it brings out this energy, this amazing feeling within me that I'm listening to Italian music all the time because it does give me that nostalgic feeling. So even that little bit of planting those little bit of seeds, playing it in the background,
absolutely,
you know, it really does. It really plants that seed for people.
There's a kid, Alessio. His name is Alessio. He's a big fan of mine. I don't know how old he is. I think he's like maybe 5.
Yeah,
4 or 5. His mom sent me his Spotify playlist, and in 2022 he listened to like 80,000 minutes of Claudio Santaluce. Yeah.
Hey, it's better than playing Fortnite,
right? But he loves it, and like it's just like natural. He naturally loves that. Like he wants.
They're Italian?
they're Italian,
Yeah.
and he wants to listen to my music. And like the parents, like, you know, they're probably sick of it, but like he loves it. So
80,000 minutes. That's a
great,
lot.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. But it is. It's important to, you know, because a lot what you see in what you hear, and we can talk. Let's get into Sempre now. It's a very traditional sound. Very a lot of those songs are traditional. So they're some of the biggest hits. So maybe touch on that a bit. Talk about Sempre, how that project came together, and like what it means to you.
You know what? Basically, what I would do would be like my grandmother loves music. She's still around.
Yeah.
And actually, my other grandmother, she loved music too. She would teach me a lot of the words in like the old traditional songs.
So they would be the ones teaching you
Yeah.
and showing you.
She calls me now, and she's like, she'll call me on like a Wednesday. She's like, I was listening to the radio, and there was this song, and it goes like, you know, Carmel. Like she'll just sing me a song, and she's like, you should do this one, right? And I'm telling you, a lot of times, I'm like, oh, let me go check that song out, and they're like banger songs.
Are they Italian songs?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, so she listens to these Italian songs, and she's like, you should do this song, and like a lot of times,
Do you do it?
yeah, I do it. And like albums like that, I like the reason I name my albums these names, like I have Sempre,
Means always, right?
yeah,
Right.
Ricordi, which is memories. I'm doing these songs like to like, you know, that nostalgic kind of feeling, right?
Yes.
So when I'm putting together a playlist of what's going on the album, you know, because the way when you record an album, it's different these days. Now it's a lot of singles. I feel like it's not the way it was before. Like I would try to give an experience. So when I'm doing 14 songs on an album, you know, I have 20 songs, like, you know, in my idea. And then I'd start arranging them. This is the process that I would do.
Okay.
I would start arranging them and then record them at home.
Okay.
So like just on my laptop or whatever, record them and get an idea, and then put them in sequence, one after the other, and see what like, you know, what's the flow of it when someone listens to an album.
I love how you do that,
From
brother.
1 to 14.
Yes.
What is it like? And you
Yes.
want to do the same kind of like peaks and valleys you do in a performance on an album, because
It's a story. That's exactly how you say it. It is a story.
It's a set list,
Yeah.
basically. So I would do that, get it together here, and I record all my albums in Italy.
No way. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
we're back home.
Yeah, so like next to my dad's town, it's a town called Buccino.
Okay.
The producer and technician, his name is Daniele Caiello, and he is unbelievably talented. Unbelievable. He does films now.
Okay.
But he's a really talented dude, and I would, you know, send him my arrangements, and then he would curate them and make sure that, you know, everything's, you know, sounds good, and he'd give me his input on how I should do things, and then that was the process. Then I'd spend like I usually spend 2 or 3 weeks in the studio every day. Like we're talking like,
And you're back in Italy too. That makes it super authentic.
oh, it's beautiful. And his studio's in the mountains. His studio's in the. He built the.
You gotta have some behind the scenes stuff for that.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah,
and like even driving there in the morning, the vibe is unbelievable. When I'm in the mountains, the air is fresh.
The air is different there, eh?
Yeah, and if we're stuck in like a scene where like we're not able to get anything, we go outside. You know, we get some fresh air. He makes me espresso. We have lunch together. He makes lunch for me.
Oh yeah.
It was a great vibe.
Couple paninis.
Yeah, so I would spend two weeks there, and we'd bust out an album, and then I would, you know, do my set list and try to, you know, I would record more songs than I needed, and then just put them together.
And you kind of select. Like so how many albums total do you have now?
I have 7.
7 albums. And how many of them are on Apple Music, by the way? Because I use Apple Music.
On Apple Music, it's probably just probably 2 or 3.
Okay. And where would you get your music otherwise?
On Bandcamp.
Bandcamp?
Yeah.
Is that like a website?
Yeah, it's a website.
Okay, so visit Bandcamp, guys.
You could get it there, or like there's actually some CD stores that I don't know if CD stores are still open.
Oh man, I missed that, eh?
Etal Records for sure is still open. And
Where's Etal Records?
it's on St. Clair.
And they have all the Italian music?
They have CDs of, you know, there was a place MVP on College Street.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they're still open. They're like right next to the Chin building.
Okay.
They used to carry my albums, but it's changed now, obviously.
I love it, man. I vividly remember going with my buddy Carlo. Shout out to my buddy Carlo. We used to go to Long Mills and walk into HMV and buy our CDs there, right?
Yeah.
And it's crazy to think that that is no longer a thing anymore. I don't even know if they still have HMVs and stuff anymore because everything's digital.
Well, they have. In where I'm from in Etobicoke, we have Sherwood Gardens, and they have a Sunrise Records.
They still have a Sunrise, so it's probably one of the last ones left.
I think no. I think they opened it up recently.
They should, because that whole experience to me, I would wait for a band to drop an album and an artist, and I would make a point of going there to buy that album. And I still have some of those albums to this day.
Rerun at my house. We run vinyl. Some of the best albums we listen to.
How much better is the sound? Why though? It's just that vintage, like you were saying, the nostalgic sound.
You know what it is? Honestly, about vinyl, I think it is like the physical aspect of it. It's warmer, so
It is.
when you're playing it digital, it's like almost like okay. It's like I feel like it's like a laser versus like when it's like a needle on that physically and it's doing that rotation. It's like I can't explain it. It's the physical aspect of it, and that's why like if you have a like
We got to get some Claudio Santaluce on some records.
right?
Yeah.
Even in instruments, like when you feel the physicality of an instrument, it's next to you and it's real.
Yeah.
I love that. Versus, when you listen to it through a speaker and like a sampled kind of thing, it's good. It's just something about that physicality. And that's what I feel.
I agree 100%. I think a lot of people can agree. It's a unique sound that I hope never goes away, because we're in an age now with this technological revolution and everything is changing so fast. Overnight, I feel like all of a sudden when you want to get an album, now you get it from your phone with Apple Music, and these things change quickly, right? I hope it doesn't go away, because that sound is just something else, man.
My kids, they understand. They understand when you listen to an album on vinyl, because I have it. And
so you're playing the music for them. Do you play the Italian music as well?
Right now, okay, they like Billy Joel, The Stranger.
Okay.
It's a great album.
Yep.
During Christmas, we were listening to two of my favorite Frank Sinatra albums. One was Sinatra, The Main Event, like a Madison Square Garden. And the other Sinatra album was Sinatra at the Sands.
Okay.
That's in Vegas. I think it's the Madison Square event is 1974. I think the Sands is 67 or something like that.
Okay.
But we're talking about like live, fantastic albums. Frank Sinatra is even like, he has his monologues, he has his jokes. It's such a good vibe. But we listen to everything. Like my kids love ABBA.
How many kids do you have?
I have two.
Two? Boy, girl?
I have a 3-year-old Leo and the girl Liliana. She's one. She's
Nice.
over one.
Yes. I remember because I think about a couple years when we were talking, you just had the youngest one.
Yeah.
Nice.
But they both enjoy music.
Yeah. Would you like to see them pursue something like that?
Absolutely. They are ready. Like I think I'm at the age now, so like I play the bass, and upstairs I have my TV, and I brought the bass to our family room because I think my Leo's 3 years old, and I'm like, okay, do you want to learn an instrument? Because he already plays the organetto,
and he probably sees you. He plays it already.
Oh, he plays already. He has his own and everything. He plays it, but like I want him to try a few different instruments.
Right.
So he's got a guitar now. And I have the bass in the family room. Okay. And when he sees me, so what I do is I put on a video, like for example, we like Mamma Mia 2. Okay. There's some really good ABBA hits on Mamma Mia 2. And I watched the movie, and I'm playing the bass to the song. Nice. Or like even Sing. Yeah. There's a movie Sing for kids. Yeah. And there are great arrangements of these awesome songs. Like, there's My Way. There's Don't You Worry About a Thing by Stevie Wonder. Yep. Great versions. And I'm playing the bass, and he sees me do that. So he goes and he gets his guitar, and he starts, and then I show him. I'm like, look, the guitar you play with a pick. Yep. And then he knows the bass, you play with your fingers like this, and like, it's great. Like, he's learning already at a young age the difference between instruments. And I think being exposed to this at a young age, they're going to be naturally like 100%. They're going to have some musical.
And he sees his dad doing it too, right? Yeah. So when he sees that, he's going to want to try to emulate that, right? But yeah, it's a tough task. But I think the key is patience. Just be patient with them. Let them take it as it goes, and then just you see what happens. It's got to be it's in his blood, right?
I'm not going to force him by any means. I'm not going to force my kids to do music, because I've seen some bad stories where people are forced and they actually, it goes the opposite.
You start to resent it after.
They hate music.
Yes. Because you don't want to be pressured, right?
Yeah, and I think that also depends on their personality. Like if you're like me, I was sometimes forced to do the organetto, but I forgot about it. Like, I don't resent my dad. Like, he was looking for my best interest, and thank God I was stupid. I was a kid. I was stupid. Thank God I listened to him.
Yes,
right?
I know.
But some people resent it. And,
Yeah.
you know, I just want to make sure if they want to, I just want them to be able to do, you know, just enjoy music. That's the main thing.
Yes.
Because music is so important.
It's so important. I really do want to, I just want to unpack that even for, I think music is so important. To me, it means a lot. You know, it gets us through, you know, the rough times, the good times. It really expands these moments, like the way we talked about with my nonna too. We have that video for life now. Now, for us to look at that is like, wow, what an amazing moment that was, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's just so special and so sentimental.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is. But you mentioned Chin. I want to talk about Chin for a second too. It's it's an Italian media. Italian media? You know, and you played a lot of the Chin picnics and stuff. What are those experiences like? What was the Chin experiences like, and how is that in Toronto?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's changed a lot. Like, you know, obviously the population is changing. Even, for example, you know, the festivals that they have on College Street and stuff, they do a Taste of Little Italy.
Yeah.
And this is not to do with Chin, but just for example, the demographic has changed. Like, you know, a lot of Italians are in Woodbridge now, and it's different. Even when Italy won the World Cup,
2006.
yeah, or even I was there
And
2006, and the Euro Cup.
Yeah.
I was playing in front of Frank's Pizza on St. Clair.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
The reason I did that was because 2006 they actually hired me to play the Toronto Fiesta, which is an Italian festival on St. Clair, and I was already hired for that day. And the organizer, he's like, "Listen, if Italy wins, you're gonna play, and you're gonna have to go. Like, you know, it's gonna be crazy, but it's up to you what you want to do. But you're gonna be there
For hours."
Yeah, I was there until 11 o'clock. It was 11:30, and the cops came up to me and they're like, they went to my dad. He's like, he's got to stop. It's 11:30. The noise bylaw is 11, right? And then I look at him and I look at the cops and they look at me and they're like, okay, just do one more song. And they loved it. It was a great vibe and it was awesome. But those Chin festivals,
I remember those as a kid, Claudio.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they were very popular, and having that on Sunday morning, the Chin, you know, really kept the Italian culture alive and thriving. You know,
we used to have lunch every day on Sundays, and we used to have lunch every week on Sundays at my nonna's house, and Chin was on the TV.
Yeah,
and it was Sugo Sunday. Like, I'm talking about like 20 years ago.
Yeah,
every single Sunday was at my nonna's, and we would be watching Chin. And that was the way it was. And, you know, then I started going on Chin. And it was really weird because my brothers would be like having lunch with my family. And me and my dad would be like on the TV. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really weird thing.
There's a video on YouTube, I think, of you playing Chin. I could just throw up some clips there. That like the big when you were younger. And was that one of the first times, or did you always kind of pop in and out of there? Or?
Yeah, they were really supportive of me. And
that's important too, right?
It's huge because, you know.
So you get out there.
Yeah, and back then there was no social media or anything like that.
Yes, this is true.
So the radio and the TV, you know, I'd go do an appearance and I'd get phone calls. And I would notice if I get an appearance on a show or on a radio station, like Chin, I would get, you know, the next day I would get more calls than usual.
Beautiful.
And it was very transparent to see that, right?
Yes.
So their help for me was huge. Like, you know, they helped my career 100%.
Yes.
And I did a lot of their festivals and even their out of town festivals like Chin Picnic. So I've done like a bunch for them, like from Dominican to like Saint Martin, and I did a bunch of them.
Well, a lot of music has brought you a lot of places, eh?
Yeah. I did like this one. At one point, I was playing for Evanov Radio Group, which is Z103 and a bunch of other radio stations. They used to do Viva Italia, which was in Cuba. And they teamed up with Posticino Ristorante and a bunch of artists, and we'd go and put shows on with Italian music for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and each artist would stay for a week or something.
Nice.
And I was I went to Cuba 10 years in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing to play music.
To play music.
That's beautiful. Is there an event before we go into the final segment here on Couple Casuals podcast? Is there like an event and a show that stands out for you?
Like one that I've done?
Yeah.
Well, recently, so I went to Montreal. A really popular artist from Naples came to Montreal.
Okay.
Tony Colombo.
Okay.
And the other really popular artist was Mauro Narati. And we're talking about two of the, right now, it's called Neo Melodici. They're like a certain type. Like Tony Colombo is like a certain type of Neapolitan artist.
Okay.
And he's in the
Straight from Napoli?
From Napoli. Neo melodico is like the genre. And I went to Montreal, and Ralph Butino from VG Entertainment, he invited me to come play because it was Neapolitan night, and he knows I know a lot of Neapolitan stuff, and he's seen my stuff. And my wife, she came with me, and I go and set up, and I'm like, I wasn't sure what the crowd was like in Montreal. I played gigs there, but I wasn't sure, because there's
a lot of Italians there, though.
A lot of Italians and great Italians, but I wasn't sure how they would take it. There's always that doubt,
of
right?
Course,
and I'm confident, but I'm also, I want to, I have doubts and whatever. You know what I mean?
Human.
Yeah. So I was worried. I'm like, I hope this goes well. I don't want to do like brutta figura. I want it to go really well. And my wife was standing and she was taking some video and stuff. And I start my first song, and she's like listening to the people at these tables and like, well, but what is this guy? Why did they get a guy with an accordion, like an organetto? What is he gonna do? So I'm doing my intro, and I start playing, and I kick in with Tarantella Napoletana because it was a Neapolitan night.
Beautiful.
And I got a standing ovation, my first song. And we're talking about the whole room got up on their feet because at the end of Tarantella Napoletana, it gets faster and faster.
Yes,
right?
It starts slow, like
it starts slow. So during that intro, people are like, "Why? What is this? But what did they bring this guy for?" And my wife said she said she was in tears because that changed. Like people didn't know what to expect. Once I started stepping it up, and they saw that, they just went crazy. And it was such a good experience because I only played for like half an hour, but it went by like in a second.
I'm sure it does.
For a crowd like that, I could have played for an hour and a half and it wouldn't be difficult. Like I wouldn't have to think about what song I'm going to play, because a lot of times I don't have a set list in mind.
Really? Oh, you don't?
No.
You freestyled it?
I freestyle, like even your event. I freestyle that.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I was making some requests, I remember.
Because what happens is like I'm performing and I see what they're reacting to. And even in Montreal, I saw, songs that were working better than others because, you're not going to hit them every single time with a really, really good song that everyone likes.
This is a good point, actually. Yeah.
So I see the way it changes, and I come up with a set. And when I do weddings, I have an idea of what I'm gonna play. But as I'm playing, my mind is changing. Like these songs are changing. I'm in my mind. My natural reaction is coming up with a new song that's better accommodating to what's happening on the floor live in the moment.
Yeah, that's a part of the art, I guess. Yeah.
But that's like intuition that you learn with experience, right?
Right.
But that's what I do. That's what I do when I do a live performance.
And that's comes from the passion, right?
Yeah.
And you just express yourself and you find where that's moving, where that goes. Man, listen, Claudio, fuck. What a great conversation. And we got a special treat. Speaking of performing and, showing the passion for everybody, we're going to go into the final segment here, which is called Salute, fitting for what we're doing here. And Claudio's going to play us a little something. So thank you guys, and let's go. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We are back. Couple Casuals podcast. We did a little switcheroo. We got my brother here, Claudio Santaluce. He has, what is that, Claudio? Is that the organetto?
This is the organetto, but this is a little bit different. This is like from Calabria. So
Straight from Calabria.
I'm not Calabrese.
Right.
This is an organetto from Reggio Calabria.
Okay.
That's basically very unique, and it's an organetto that's used mostly for this one song. It's La Tarantella Calabrese.
Oh, okay. Yes, we know this one.
I can explain a little bit of the difference. So,
sure.
This song is used for a certain type of technique
right.
you play with. So, when you play a regular tarantella, I can show you the way a regular tarantella sounds like. Like, let's say a regular one that you usually hear. So.
Hey.
Now the Tarantella Calabrese is a little bit different.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do a little intro and show you what it sounds like.
Okay. So that one there, that was the Tarantella Calabrese.
Yeah. And they come slower, they come faster.
Yeah.
Like you could play way fast. Like
that's when everybody's going boom, 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 fast, fast, fast. Couple shots, couple espressos. You know what I mean?
But you know what? There's a lot of like I'm one of the only guys that does this in Toronto. But if you go to Calabria, there are so many guys that are so good.
Really?
It's crazy.
Well, that's where it comes from, right? That's the exact motherland of it.
But young guys.
Young
That's
guys.
the thing. I'm talking about young guys, young kids that play at an extraordinary level.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I know, it's beautiful. You know what? We need to make like this. That sound of the accordion, of the organetto, Claudio, is so fucking beautiful to me. It's something that's embedded in our Italian culture. So people look at, you know what it is? People look at it like, oh, my nonno played that or something like that. But it really is such an authentic and beautiful instrument.
Yeah.
So it really is, and I appreciate you playing that. I appreciate you showing that.
my pleasure.
Did you want to show the difference between the accordion?
Yeah, I can give the other organetto.
Yeah, or the other organetto. Perfect. So this one here, same instrument, but
Same, a little bit different. So like it's got an extra button that allows me to do. So this is major.
Yep.
If I do that exact fingering in minor.
Yeah. Oh.
So this is the organetto used for doing like even if you want to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, Claudio. Before we end off here, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for sharing that with us. Guys, if you could take anything from this podcast, it's remember where you came from. And if you're Italian, keep it alive. Let's keep it alive, guys. But before we sign off, Claudio, where do they find you? If they want to book you, if they want to do anything like that, tell them where to find you, brother.
You go to claudiosantaluce.com.
Beautiful.
Or if you just check out Claudio Santaluce on Instagram, that's where you can reach me.
They could just reach you directly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. I love you, nobody else. Until next time. Salute.
Salute.